Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name's Heather and I'm here with another episode of Around the World in Books, this time Northern Africa. If you aren't caught up, this is a whole series that I've been doing on my channel of trying to read a book from a country or a book from an author from every country around the world. So this time we are doing Northern Africa. I've been kind of dividing this up into regions, and then I pick a few authors from each or from the region that I'm doing, and then I do a whole reading vlog. So that's what we're doing today. This is a little bit different. I've seen a lot of people do these videos on YouTube where they just give you like a big long list of authors from that entire area. These are much smaller scale, but I'm actually reading the books and giving you my whole thoughts. So that's kind of the idea of what this video is. Again, we're going to be hitting some authors from Northern Africa. I've picked just 3, so there will be probably 2 more videos covering Northern Africa in order to try and hit all of those authors. But we'll start off by walking you through what books I chose for each country, and then we'll just get into the reading vlog part. The first one is my pick for Egypt, and this is The Palace Walk by Naib Mahfouz. I'm not 100% positive on that pronunciation on the author. I've gotten mixed answers on how to actually pronounce that, but that's the author. But this one is kind of a classic from my research. It's got very big. This author is the winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. This is compared a lot to Dickens in just it being like this saga about a family. There's not necessarily a plot that I can tell, but it is a trilogy, so we'll see how I like it. But that is my pick for Egypt. And then my pick for Morocco is The Other Americans by Leila Lalami. Again, hope I'm saying that right, but this one I honestly don't know a ton about. It's about I guess I'll just read the back. Late one spring night, oh, that is Driss Guerra, I can't say it. Late one night spring, whatever the main character's name is, a Moroccan immigrant in California is walking across an intersection when he is killed by a speeding car. The repercussions of his death bring together a diverse cast of characters deeply divided by race, religion, and class. As the characters tell their stories and the mystery unfolds, Driss's family is forced to confront its secrets. A town faces its hypocrisies, and love, in all its messy and unpredictable forms, is born. So, I don't know. We'll see what this one is. I feel like this one got pretty big on the internet, but with a different cover. It has like orange flowers and is blue. But I don't mind this cover. So, that's my pick for Morocco. I'm very interested to see how this one is going to go. I think it's very lit-fic-y, but also sounds like it might have a mystery, so I'm not really sure. Okay, and then the last book that we're going to be reading in this video is my pick for Algeria, and that is People Like Them by Samira Sidira. But this one sounds much more like a psychological thriller suspense type of a book, but it's actually set in France. This author grew up partially in Algeria, partially in France, so I feel like it's very fitting. But everyone in the sleepy French alpine village of Carmack knows one another, and most of its residents look alike, until Bakar and Sylvia Langlois arrive with their 3 children. Wealthy and flashy with an impressive chalet and 3 expensive cars, the family of 5 are outsiders in this small town. Despite their differences, the Langloises, that feels weird, form an uneasy friendship with their next door neighbors, Anna and Constant. But when both families begin experiencing financial difficulties, the underlying class and racial tensions of the relationship come to a breaking point and the unthinkable happens. So this one's kind of like a wintry suspense thrillery book. So I'm very excited for this one. It's nice and tiny, so I'll probably save this one for either in between the 2 books or for the end. We'll see how I'm feeling after Palace Walk. But I have actually already started reading Palace Walk, so I am currently just about 70 pages in. So not super far. I'm approaching the 100-page mark. This is definitely a very slow book to get into. So far, we've pretty much just gotten the introduction of the family, who, like, their names, and then just kind of some basic introductions into kind of where they're at in life. So like one of them's currently a law student, most of them are still just like kids at home, and then some introductions into like the background of the mom and dad. This book was set during the British occupation of Egypt and so you're kind of having some overtones of that already, where they're kind of, you're seeing them being very against the British. It is following a very devout Muslim family, and so a lot of it is centered around their religion, and the different ways that that impacts their life and that they participate in their religion through their daily life. I will say it is definitely a bit of an older book, and it's kind of feels like a snapshot. It's very old-fashioned in some of the ways that like women and men interact and how women are treated, but it's not like in a way that it feels super uncomfortable. It's just like, oh, that's like again, just feels like a historical snapshot of that time. So that's how I'm feeling so far. I'm going to continue reading this. I'll probably check in when I'm about halfway through. I did find the audiobook on Audible Plus, but I didn't love the narrator a ton, so I'm not sure if I'm going to listen to the audiobook at all, or if I'll just move forward with it all in paperback. But that's where we're at. We're gonna go continue with this book. Welcome to another video, and I will update you when I have some more thoughts on Palace Walk. Okay, I'm pretty sure I said I was going to update this video when I was about halfway through this book, but I'm now done. It has been a few weeks since I started this video, and I just didn't really have a ton of thoughts, so I figured I'd just finish the book and then we'll move on to the next one. But I have finished the Palace Walk now. I gave it like a 3 stars. It's just very middle of the road. There were things I liked about it, there were things I didn't. It's one of those books where you are truly just like following these characters in their lives. There's not really a plot. I don't know. It's hard to explain what this book is about, but basically you're following this family. We're in Egypt. I think I kind of explained it. It's like the start of the Egyptian Revolution, I guess. I don't know. Maybe there's another name for what this is, but that's like basically what's happening. So you start at the beginning of the book. You have this really tyrannical dad who just is like hardcore old-fashioned beliefs and just like lays down the law for his family. And you're kind of going from there. They've got several kids. I really liked the mom's point of view, which is what you start in. So it started out and I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. And then we got into the dad's point of view and I was like, this is less fun. And then they have one son who has the most just disgusting mind ever. And every time I got to something about him, I was just like, please let this be over. Like I was just skipping pages, because he just has the most gross mind. And this very much so feels like a book that is like a snapshot into a time period and the mentalities that men had towards women. But there are a lot of like he basically tries to rape multiple people in the book. And he gets interrupted both times, but it's just like, yeah, his sections are just gross. He has such an objectifying view of women, and it was just one of those things where you're just like, I don't want to believe that this is real. Like, I know it is, but I don't want to be in his head. So it's not in first person, but you're very much so seeing things from his point of view, and it was just uncomfortable. So I didn't like that part of the book. I also feel like because it was following so many different characters and there wasn't like a plot, we would like start talking about something with somebody and then we'd jump and we'd never really come back to it. Like there's a point that's probably like 40 pages from the end of the book and one of the kids is having a baby. The doctor comes, things are going wrong, and they're like, your baby will be lucky to live through the night. We never revisit that. Granted, this is a trilogy and this is just the first book, but like we never come back around to it before the end of the book. So book ends and you have no idea if the baby lived or not. Like there's just a lot of stuff like that you're like, oh, okay. So we're just moving on from that and we're never coming back to it. So I don't know, it felt a little disjointed, but that could just be because I'm such a plot reader, but it just felt like there were so many things like that would just start a conversation and then we just move on, and the next chapter would be like a totally different day and you'd have no idea how much time has passed really. So I don't know, was a little difficult to follow, especially as somebody who mostly reads for plots. Some of the characters I really liked, some of the characters I did not like at all. And just generally this book made me feel just a little gross, especially in parts with the son, the dad, how they view women, how they talk about women, how much sex is like a focal point of their life was just a little uncomfortable for me. So that's Palace Walk. I don't know that I feel the need to continue the book. I will say the last like 100 pages got a lot better for me because it became like we're actually diving into the revolution, and that became like the main focus point of the book, and that got better for me, but not enough that I think I'm going to continue. I don't know. If you've read the whole trilogy, let me know your thoughts if you think it's worth continuing, but at the moment I'm not so sure about that. So that brings us to our next book. I think I'm going to go ahead and jump into The Other Americans by Laila Lalami. I think, did I read the description at the beginning? I don't know. And honestly, the description on the back of the book makes no sense. I have no idea what this book is about. So I'm just gonna get a little bit into it and then I'll sit down and try and do a better explanation of what the setup is. But this one is quite a bit shorter, thankfully. So hopefully that will help me get through these books a little bit quicker. It's only 300 pages, so a lot shorter. I actually have one book that I'm going to read in between this that just came in on Libby that I've been waiting for forever, it feels like. So I'm gonna read that and then I'll jump into this. But we leave for Spain in like just over a week, and I would love to have this video wrapped up before we leave on our vacation. So we'll see. I'm gonna try and get through these as fast as I can. I don't want to bring them. I've got a different book I'm hoping to bring on that trip, so we'll see. Hopefully I can get these done. This video will definitely be out after we go, but this is our next read. I will check in when I have read enough to tell you what it's actually about. Here with an update. I'm a little over halfway in this book. So far it's going better than I thought it was going to. To give you the premise, since I finally read enough to actually kind of know what's going on, this book is basically following, you have this man who dies in a hit and run, and then you're following this whole slew of characters who are impacted by this to varying degrees. You're following his daughter, his wife, his person who owns a store next to his store, the detective that gets assigned the case, the daughter's childhood friend, just like a whole bunch of different characters, and you're just kind of following how this impacts them as they go through the process of grieving and investigating this crime. And so that's what it is. It's not really like a mystery so much. I'm about halfway through and you've kind of found out the answer already. So it's definitely more lit fic. It's not leaning into a mystery, but there's a little bit of that happening. So for at least a little bit. So I don't know, it took me a while to get going on it. It was going pretty slow, and then I got the audiobook from Libby, and that actually got me into it enough that I'm now into it and can read it either or. It's really hard to jump back and forth between the two though, because they're not chapter numbers, they are titled by the point of view. So it'll just be like the name of whose point of view you're in, and then you'll get that same person multiple times. So like there's like 10 Nora chapters that I've gotten through so far. So it's a little bit hard jumping back and forth to try and keep track of where I'm at. But the audiobook's really good. There is a ton of different narrators on it. It's like maybe not quite a full cast, but there are a lot of narrators that are doing voices in the book. So yeah. Anyways, that's kind of where I'm at so far. I just wanted to update you before I finished it. Probably my next update will be once I'm actually done. But better than I anticipated. Not like a favorite. I'm not like obsessed, but it's going better than I thought it would. Okay, I didn't film a ton of clips of me actually reading this book, but I have finished The Other Americans. I'm giving it like a 3.5 star, I think. My monthly wrap-up will be up before this video, so you will have already hopefully seen some of my basic thoughts on this, but overall, it was better than I expected it to be. It wasn't my favorite book ever. There were certain parts of this that I didn't love. I guess let's start with the things I did like about it. I feel like these characters were very realistic. They felt like real people. And I think that is a real strength, to be able to write characters that feel so realistic. There were a lot of things that I feel like could almost feel like tropes, but they were done in such a way that they felt totally true to life, and it didn't feel like they were just writing in a trope, if that makes sense. So that I think was really impressive, how well she was able to do that part of it, that they feel like real people. There's no like hard and fast, this is the good person, this is the bad person. Like everybody just has pros and cons, and they're just true flawed human beings. So you kind of like, it's not like you take a full side with anyone, and because you're jumping POVs, you're getting it in like that person's perspective. So you get in the head of every single character, and you're able to see some of their like motivations and thoughts behind what's going on. And so it really is a book that just kind of makes you think from every perspective, and I think that that's probably the biggest strength on this book. It really makes you think and put yourself in someone else's shoes, and see the same situation from multiple point of views. Sometimes it's even like the same scene. You'll go through the scene in one POV, and then you'll switch and you'll go through the exact same scene but in a different POV. And so it really does a good job at that. That being said, there are lots of trigger warnings with this book. One of the big main topics that they cover in this, or like, I don't know, I feel like lit fic always has like something that it's trying to address, right? One of the big topics in here is racism. There are a lot of racial slurs that are used by certain characters, especially when characters are remembering some of the things that were done to them as kids. You've got a whole bunch of different experiences and backgrounds on these characters. Some of them were born in the US, some of them immigrated to the US, and it's very interesting how they address it, but I feel like there are some things that could be very triggering in here. Also, lots of things about grief. So if that's a trigger for you right now, I wouldn't read this book. That is the majority of what this book is about. And so just as a heads up, I'd check the trigger warnings. There were also certain characters I really didn't like. One of the girls, like the daughter of the guy who died, her childhood best friend has a buddy from when he fought in the war. And I do not like that character. I don't think you were meant to like him necessarily, but like even when you find out who was the driver that hit her dad, I feel like that character I had more sympathy towards than the buddy. Anyways, he was kind of weird. There was lots of swearing, vulgar words going on, especially in his, from that one specific friend. So I didn't love him. He just made things kind of weird. He was kind of annoying. It definitely gets into a little bit of like a hookup. There's lots of stuff about cheating. Again, just everybody has flaws, and it makes it just a little hard to get through the book. So I don't know. I think it is a good setup for talking about the issues that it's trying to address. It almost feels a little bit like a mystery book-ish, but like it's not really. So I don't know. It just feels a little bit weird where it's kind of mixing all these different genres. But anyways, that's The Other Americans. Overall, it was all right. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I got through it pretty quickly. I don't know that I'd strongly recommend it. And I definitely check trigger warnings before you get into it. And that brings us on to our last book for this video, and that is People Like Them by Samira Sidira. I have started this one. I am already on page 58. This one is flying by. First of all, a pretty small book. Like compare, this is a normal paperback. It's like an inch or so shorter. It's also just a short book in general, but the spacing is also really big. Like there's quite large margins and quite the line spacing. But this one is basically you're following from where we start. You start off right away finding out that there's this man who goes and kills this entire family, like really brutally in this little French Alps town. And then we're kind of going back and forth between the trial and his wife kind of catching us up on all the events that led up to it. And so right now, pretty much they've gotten through him testifying or being a witness. I don't know what the correct terminology is for that, but we've gotten through that, and then she's gotten up to the point where like they've been married for a little bit and stuff. So I don't know, I'm not entirely sure where we're going with this. This one also definitely has some themes about like racism and stuff in it. It's this little French town, and the family that gets murdered is like the one black family in town. So I've ended up with 2 books, I guess, that are going off of the racism themes, which is interesting because they're such different books. Like they're totally, this one is like fully a murder mystery. That one is like a accidental crime type of a thing. I'm very interested to see where it goes. It's always interesting when you have a murder mystery where you start with the crime and then you like work back, like you jump back and work your way up to it happening instead of working your way towards the crime. So I don't know, it's very interesting, and it's not like you're following a detective. It's not your typical point of view where you're following the wife of the murderer. So I don't know, it'll be interesting. I don't know how I feel about the fact that every time it's talking about the guy who did the murder, like the murderer, it's in the you, right? So it's like, you went and did this, you went and did that. And it's like, oh, cool, I didn't want to be that character. So that part's interesting. Everything else is first person with the wife. But that's what's going on. I'm going to go finish this book. I have like a day and a half until we leave for Spain, and I want to have this done before then. So I'll try and film some clips actually of me reading it, and then I will come and touch base when I'm done with this one, and we'll wrap the whole video up. Everybody, I have finished our last book for this video, so I'm finally here to go ahead and wrap it up. It's actually been a minute since I finished this book, so we're gonna see if I can get my thoughts cohesive enough. I just went and watched my last clip that I filmed for this video, and I don't know if I have a ton else to add, to be honest. I'm giving this book 3 stars. I do feel like I didn't explain my thoughts super well about how I felt like the structure of this book was different. I feel like when I said in that clip that like you don't normally start with a crime, like obviously you normally start with a crime, but I don't feel like you normally start with like where we've got the solution already. Like we immediately start out with every single detail of what happened and who did it. So it's not like you're trying to solve the crime. You're going back and you're trying to answer why. Like, why did this guy go and kill this whole family? What drove him to it? How did nobody, including his wife, see what was going on or suspect anything? Like, nobody had any idea that he was leaning towards doing this, and that's kind of really what the book is exploring. So it's a little bit of an interesting book. It is very gruesome. It is quite the brutal murder, but overall I don't feel like it was the most satisfying book. I don't know, like, you find out why and you're kind of like, oh, like, I don't, that was all it took to get him to go and kill an entire family? Like, okay, interesting. So I don't know, that's kind of how I ended with the book. Again, it's like an average book for me. It was fine. There wasn't anything that I like ultra hated about it. It just wasn't like amazing. I feel like it's a bit of a stretch to call it like a psychological suspense novel. I don't feel like there was really any suspense going on. Like, you know everything from the very beginning. Like, you're kind of like, eh, why would he go do that? But it's not like there's any crazy explanation for it. So I don't know, that's kind of where I'm sitting with this one. It feels more lit fic than psychological suspense. But maybe that's just because I'm coming from as someone who reads a lot of books in like the mystery thriller horror-esque genre, and so I kind of have a pretty high bar of what I feel like feels suspenseful to me. So this just didn't really cut it. It was interesting, but it wasn't anything beyond that. So that's People Like Them. If you want a murder suspense-ish book, but you don't want to be like stressed the whole time about what's coming and what's gonna happen because you already know, could be an option for you. But with that being said, we have finished this video. So those are my 3 North African authors for this video. Again, this is not the entire region. Obviously there are other countries in this region. I just did 3 because that felt like a good amount to cross off in one video. So there will be more videos coming out from this region. So if you have recommendations for authors from other countries in Northern Africa, let me see. It does look like I found a book for Chad, but I'm not super like pumped about that book. So if anybody has any recommendations of books from Chad that are in English, that is literally the only one I could find. So it's called Told by Starlight in Chad, but I haven't found anything yet. I haven't really looked yet for Libya. Okay, I'm gonna say this one wrong. Mauritania, Sudan, South Sudan, Tunisia. So if you got any suggestions, please leave them down below, send them my way, because I would love some recommendations, especially if you have ones that you think I would like really enjoy. Please send them my way. But with this video, we have now reached 17% of countries. So we're making progress, but there are definitely a lot more videos coming down the line for this whole series. I need to get really cranking through them. I think my next one I'm probably going to do is Eastern Europe and then potentially the Middle East. So look forward to those videos. Hopefully not too long. Hopefully by like mid-year I'll have checked off at least those 2. My goal is to do 6 videos this year for this challenge. So by midway through the year I need to have 3 done. So that's what it's looking like. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye.